Today I will show you another way to make a beret hat. The one I will need is model number 2779 from the 3030 issue of Passap Magazine. According to the instructions, the hat should be suitable for ladies, so make sure your gauge information is the same as the given one. I haven't made a gauge swatch and my hat will be suitable for children. Before we get to the knitting machine, I want to thank all of you for watching my videos, pressing the like button and leaving great comments. Also, many thanks to my awesome channel members who are actively supporting my work. Now, without further delay, let's try to knit this hat. First, make sure the racking handle is in its lowest position. Raise 54 needles on the front bed of the machine, 27 to the left and 27 to the right side of the center. Put the edge springs on the last working ones. Arrange the needles in a 1-to-1 division and move the left edge spring to the last working needle. Set the front lock to N and the stitch size to 1. The back lock should be set to GX. Insert the black strippers and take an eyelet with contrasting color yarn. Now knit 1 row. On the front lock, increase the stitch size to 4. Raise the rest of the needles on the front bed, tap on them with the orange ruler and move the left edge spring to the last working needle. Now knit 1 row to finish the cast on. If you don't know what I'm doing with the orange tool now, you may want to check out the video from the info card. Now reset the row counter, then increase the stitch size to 5. Tap on the needle slightly and knit 20 rows with the waste yarn. Reset the row counter and set the front lock to BX. Move the lock to the color changer and retread the machine. Then move the lock to the right and take the eyelet with the main yarn for the hat. Now raise pushers and the row working needles on the front bed. Let's make the first wedge. First, put 2 pushers at left in resting position, knit 1 row and wind the yarn around the last needle that hasn't knitted. Knit 1 row to the right. Put the next 2 pushers in resting position and knit 1 row. Wind the yarn and knit to the right. Repeat these steps until the row counter is at 21 rows and the lock is on the left side of the machine. I will leave the whole process so you can see all of the steps. You must have 22 pushers in resting position on the left side. Don't reset the row counter. Wind the yarn on the left side in the same way. Put 2 pushers on the right side in resting position and knit 1 row. Put 2 pushers at left in resting position, then wind the yarn on the right side. Knit 1 row to the left, put 2 pushers at right in resting position, then wind the yarn at left. Repeat these steps until you have only 2 pushers in working position. Once again, I will leave the whole footage. Now knit to the right. Don't reset the row counter. Don't forget to wind the yarn around the needle to the right that hasn't knitted, then put all pushers to the left of the 2 working ones in working position. Now knit 1 row to the left. Put the rest of the pushers in working position and knit 1 row to finish the wedge. According to the instructions, I should have a total of 40 rows, but I only have 38. Reset the row counter. You can use the first digit of the counter to count the wedges. For this hat you need to knit a total of 10 wedges. If you use the row counter to count the wedges, after knitting the second one, the row counter should be at 138 rows. You can then reset the counter and set the first digit to 2. Or you can use a counter for hand knitting. When you finish knitting the last wedge, reset the row counter and set the front lock to N. Move the lock to the color changer and take an eyelet with waste yarn. We don't need the pushers anymore, so you can put them in resting or out of working position. Now knit 20 rows with the waste yarn. Reset the row counter. Move the lock to the color changer and leave the eyelet there. Slide the lock to drop the knitting from the machine. Now the hat should look like this. It was tough for me to learn how to wind the yarn around the needles in the beginning, but now I make it perfect every time. Fold the hat as shown in the video, sew both ends using the Kitchener stitch and remove the waste yarn. Now the hat should look like this. I'm proud of how my Kitchener seam turned out. It is the only seam I can do so far. Now let's knit the loop. First make sure the racking handle is in its highest position. Raise 2 needles on the front and 2 needles on the back bed. They must be opposite to each other. Now put the leftmost one on the front bed and the rightmost one on the back bed out of work. Place the edge springs on the working needles. Set both locks to CX and the stitch size to 1. Insert the black strippers. Take the eyelet with the main yarn and knit 2 rows. Increase the stitch size to 4 on both locks. Now raise the 2 needles you put out of work and put a 7-shaped weight hanger between the beds. Pull the weight hanger down and knit 2 rows. Now put the weight on the hanger. Reset the row counter and increase the stitch size on both locks to 5. Now knit 40 rows or until the cord becomes between 7 and 10 cm in length. Reset the row counter. Pull the yarn from the eyelet and cut it. Thread it into the double-eye bodkin 2 and sew off the stitches in a circular manner. First sew off the stitches on the front bed from right to left, then sew off the stitches on the back bed from left to right. When you sew off all stitches, the cord will fall from the machine. Don't forget to remove the weight before sewing off all stitches. This is what the cord will look like. Remove the weight hanger and pull the yarn tail to hide the loop. Now fold the cord in half. Take the hat and sew the cord in the center as shown in the video. Now let's knit the bend of the hat. First make sure the racking handle is in its lowest position. Raise 4 needles on the front bed of the machine and place 1 edge spring on the rightmost working one. Now raise 5 needles on the back bed and place the edge springs on the last working needles. Both end working needles must be on the back bed of the machine. Set both locks to N and the stitch size for a racking cast on. Insert the orange strippers. Move the lock to the color changer and take an eyelet with waste yarn. Now make a racking cast on. Reset the row counter and increase the stitch size on both locks to 5. Look at the leftmost needle on the back bed. It may not have a stitch in its hook. You can fix that by hanging a pearl bump from the adjacent needle. Now knit 10 rows with the waste yarn. Reset the row counter. Move the lock to the color changer and take the eyelet with the main yarn. Now knit until the band becomes a bit longer than the head circumference. I will knit 200 rows and then later I will unravel the excess. You can always put a measuring tape between the beds of the machine and get the approximate length of the band. To my surprise, 200 rows make the exact length I needed for the band. Now reset the row counter. Move the lock to the color changer and leave the eyelet there. Pull the yarn tails from the eyelets, cut them and retread the machine. Slide the lock to the left to drop the band. To stop the stitches from unraveling, I will put a metal clip at the top end. Now the knitted band should look like this. Take the hat and sew the band to the edge as shown in the video. When you get to the end, pull the yarn tail to unravel the excess stitches and sew the open loops to the other end. You know that I am not good at hand sewing, so I will use the latch hook to make the seam. This is the final result. The hat looks very good, but it's too small for my head, so I can't put it on. It will be the perfect size for a kit. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Now have a nice day and see you next time.